On Friday, to my surprise, in the foyer of P1, this poster was delivered to me. I opened it up, and it turns out it's a poster of some bicycles from France. It's a nice little gift for which I'm thankful. It was sent to me by Andrei Zinchuk, my best friend of the last 30 years. We met in 9th grade. And the day we met, we were in gym class at Ridgefield High School. All the students were sat on the bleachers before class began. Mr. Maiolo, always in a turtleneck, Mr. Maiolo stood next to a tall, thin kid who was staring at his shoes. Asked if the boy spoke English. He shook his head. Mr. Maiolo asked the class if anyone spoke Russian, because this kid is from Russia. Blank stares met the teacher's gaze. Okay, Mr. Maiolo said, just go sit down. We'll figure this out. We'll do our best. That kid sat next to me, and others whispered, "Where are you from? Where in Russia are you from?" While Mr. Maiolo launched into a lesson about handball or netball or something. I asked the kid too, where are you from in Russia? And the very first line that I ever heard from my best friend that really came alive in a new way this week: I'm not from Russia. I'm from Ukraine. Not just from Ukraine, it turns out, but from Lviv in western Ukraine, up against the Polish border, the most European-facing part of the country, the most pro-Ukrainian independence part of the nation, a part of the country, like all the rest, that when it belonged to the Soviet Union, kids were made to speak Russian in school. Curricula attempted to reconfigure Ukrainian history so that Holodomor, the famine of 1932 and 1933, didn't kill 3.9 million Ukrainians and was not perpetuated by the Soviet government in Moscow and wasn't an intentional government policy that targeted ethnic Ukrainians. Andrei got one version of history at school, or at least from the textbooks, and another at home. A version of history that remembered Holodomor as an intentional targeting of his people that killed millions of innocents. One history in the textbooks and another at home. One language in the classroom and another at home. One identity in newspapers and on television stations. On the street corners, it was different identity. At your grandmother's kitchen table, it was a different identity. Andrei left Ukraine right before the collapse of the USSR, when his older brother was about to be conscripted into the Red Army, a situation that their mother would not tolerate. No chance her oldest boy would fight on behalf of the Union, the very Union that was responsible for Holodomor, the very Union that denied ethnic Ukrainians their very existence. Mr. Maiolo, the gym teacher, was a really nice, well-intentioned guy. It wasn't his fault. He was just using information someone else gave him. Does anyone speak Russian? He asked. Can you imagine standing there and all the misunderstandings that a teacher could make on your first day in an American school? I'm not from Russia. I'm from Ukraine. And so on Friday, a poster arrived in the mail, a poster of French bicycles. My friend thought of me when he saw it. Why is not so important as to when, as in when he sent it. On Monday, 6 days ago. On Monday, the invasion seemed improbable. Despite all the chest thumping, it seems that millions of Ukrainians didn't ultimately believe that this could actually happen. It was a play. It was a play for the Donbass, a slow eating away at the borders. That's been the game. First Crimea, then the Donbass. Keep the government unstable. Soon enough, more Ukrainians will want to come back. They'll see that life is better once they turn to Moscow for comfort rather than London or Berlin. A slow wearing away at Ukrainian sovereignty. On Monday, there was space in the day to mail a poster of French bicycles from Connecticut, where Andre lives with his American wife and American children as a citizen of the United States and Ukraine. On Thursday, he was talking about catching a plane to Warsaw, knowing that he couldn't on account of the beautiful children of his who need their father. On Monday, life was one way, and on Thursday, it was another. The transfiguration story is one of utter surprise. Things are one way one moment and completely another the next. It's easy to forget that the disciples have no idea what's about to happen as the story begins. This union of God and humanity is enough to cause them to lose their minds at the sudden nature of it all. It is a narrative of many things, but most especially it is a narrative of a union between humanity's best hopes and the divine, between the seen and the unseen, between our yearning for God and God's meeting humanity, of the union between our desire for peace and the real presence of peace, the yearning for love and the real presence of pure love, the yearning of the divine to drench our lives in goodness and the realization of that goodness. That in a lofty place, real or spiritual, physical or emotional, humanity's yearnings can be met by God's presence and goodness. It is a story that is real and unreal. And there are times in our lives where God's presence, for some at certain moments, becomes very real. But you may not know what to do with this story of the Transfiguration. It may not hit you quite right this morning. There's plenty of stories in the Bible like that. Stories that connect with our personal journeys in concrete and intimate ways, and at other times they feel far off, may not encompass what you're working through. There are plenty of times on a Monday or a Tuesday morning where I wonder what on earth a passage will have to say, what on earth a piece of scripture will yield for the Sunday ahead. And sometimes prayer and hard work are enough, but there are other passages that I would never think to include on a Sunday morning for Sunday service, passages about war and violence that seem so far away from my life, from worrying about masks in school and my carbon footprint and what to make for kids' dinner on a Thursday night. One of those passages is the 27th Psalm. I read late last night about how this psalm has been used in prayer services in Ukraine the last few days. I've never used this psalm in a church service that I know of. But today I hear these words anew. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked advance against me to devour me, it is my enemies and my foes who will stumble and fall. Though an army besiege me, my heart will not fear. Though war break out against me, even then I will be confident. One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord, for in the day of trouble God will keep me safe in his dwelling. He will hide me in the shelter of his sacred tent and set me high upon a rock. My heart says of you, seek his face. Your face, Lord, I will seek. Do not turn your face from me. Do not turn your servant away, for you have been my helper. Do not reject or forsake me, God. Teach me your way, Lord. Lead me in a straight path because of my oppressors. Do not turn me over to the desire of my foes, for false witnesses rise up against me, spouting malicious accusations. I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of God in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord. Be strong. Take heart. And wait for the Lord. Wait for the Lord. Be strong. Take heart. Wait for the Lord. Wait for the kind of union the transfiguration describes between humanity and divinity, between our lives and the lives of so many and our best hopes. The arc of the universe bends toward justice, and we know this. Putin will lose in the end. He'll die, or he'll be toppled, or some such eventuality. People like that always do. It's just a question of how much mess they make along the way, how much havoc is wreaked, how much misery is caused. But he will lose. People who try to wipe away others' identities and sovereignty and their right to their ethnicity ultimately lose. Wait for the Lord, the psalmist says, knowing that goodness abounds even in the face of an oppressor. And we have seen that goodness in so many places the last few days. Wait for the Lord, the psalmist says. Wait, be strong. Wait for the Lord. Wait on peace, for it's coming. Wait on love, because it's coming. Wait on goodness, because it's coming. Wait on the Lord. Be strong. Take heart. The psalmist, in the face of an advancing army, says, don't give up. Don't give up on life, and don't give up on love. And Ukrainians surely haven't the last few days. Wait for the Lord, whose day is near. Wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart. Those are also the words to a Taizé chant, one that we will sing in a few moments. Bob will lead Christine to sing those words from the psalm, and then the choir will sing those words from the chant, and then I invite you to offer these ancient words of Scripture, these ancient words of hope, these ancient words of consolation, as a community, as we sing this morning with our Ukrainian brothers and sisters, as we sing for peace, as we sing in celebration of God's goodness, who resides with us, with Jesus on that mountaintop 2,000 years ago, and with Ukrainians today.